Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Senaparatna. Grab your favorite drink, get a snack, and we'll get started. Today I have my mango Ceylon tea because that's what I'm obsessed with right now, and some Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies. So let's get real. Now, why do I have Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies? Well, I'll tell you the little story. So I had surgery about 2 weeks ago, and right after surgery, you're really kind of drugged. In a healthy, under supervision situation. So my surgery, I actually had to stay overnight in the hospital and be observed and, taken care of or whatever. And it was about 2 a.m. that I woke up, or I don't even know if I'd fallen. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see this cute little girl who says, it's the last weekend to buy Girl Scout cookies. And I click the link and order myself some good Girl Scout cookies. On my whatever medication I was on, there we go. So now I have Thin Mint cookies that were then delivered to my house, which was very sweet. And so I guess we better eat them, right? But my surgery went pretty well for those who have asked. Thank you for all you who have prayed and stood with me. The surgery, all of the things they said could go wrong did not go wrong. I have my vocal cords. That was the big thing. They said, hey, guess what? You might lose those. And I didn't. But everything really went well. I got to leave the hospital pretty early, so I didn't have to stay there for super long. And they told me it'd be about a 2 to 4 week recovery, but I would be able to really resume all of my activities almost right away. Well, they were wrong. I feel like someone has zapped every ounce of ambition and energy out of my body. Now, I really expected to be back almost right away. In fact, I didn't even record a podcast because I'm like, why do I need to pre-record a podcast? I'll be fine. And so the morning that I was going to be recording my podcast, I was getting ready and I was having a conversation with God and just, talking about things. And I felt like he was like, hey, before you record your podcast, call your mom. And so I'm like, okay, I love calling my mom, sure. So I called my mom. I talked to her for 5-10 minutes. Nothing really happened in that conversation. So I'm like, okay, God, what was that about? I hang up the phone and a wave of complete and utter exhaustion. Like maybe you're used to exhaustion. If you have little kids, like there is a level that you run just completely exhausted all the time when your kids are little. That is what hit me. It just came in a huge wave and I was like, I can barely even sit up right now. In fact, I couldn't sit up. I had to lay down. Like every ounce of energy was zapped out of my body. And I just heard this little chuckle. Now, I don't know if you hear God laughing, but I quite often hear God just like, oh, Jenny. That's just how God and I work. So I hear this and so you thought you could record a podcast, right? You can't talk to your mom, but you thought maybe you could get up and do a podcast. No, you're resting. And so I took last week off. And really what was the hardest thing of this whole thing is my expectation was I'd be back cooking meals. I would be back cleaning the house and running errands and going out with my friends. And, because I have so many of those. I'm sorry, that was being too sarcastic there. I apologize. But, just getting back out into life, going to church, and that has not happened. I haven't even been past my driveway for 2 weeks. I've not left the house. I'm barely cooking. Forget about cleaning. It is just, my expectations have just been dashed. It is very disheartening. Me and the nurses, my doctor's nurses, have become really good friends. Like, I've been calling because there's been some issues happening. Nothing to be really concerned about, but just some things. And I'm like, you didn't tell me about this. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's normal. It's gross, but it's normal. And you're like, what? Come on. And so it's been really difficult. I've just been really frustrated. And I felt like I needed to come on today, not because I need to complain and I need sympathy. I'm fine. Really because expectations are such a big part of our lives. Like we expect so much. We expect our families to be great. We expect our finances to where our finances are going to be. My husband is a goal person, so he always has these huge goals, and you expect to be making progress down that path. You expect your marriage to look a certain way. You expect your home to look a certain way, your job, your car. I mean, everything, to the point that when you go back to a restaurant. So there was a restaurant by my mom's house when I was younger, and it was a pizza place. And one of my favorite pizza places in the world, because my girlfriends and I had a babysitting club. That's what we did. We babysat, we put it all in a pool, and then we'd go and have pizza at this pizza joint. We'd all get on our bikes and drive, pedal there and go order a pizza. And I think once we even had enough money to get garlic bread. I mean, it was crazy good. And I've gone back as an adult, and the expectation is just not met. There is just no way for the pizza to be as good as it was when I was 11 or 12 years old, eating at a restaurant without my parents for the first time, with my girlfriends, with my own hard-earned money that meant nothing to me at that time other than pizza and garlic bread. It's just that you can't meet that expectation again. And I feel like we are all walking through life going, well, that was a fail. That didn't meet my expectation. Here, I think this is how my marriage is going to look. And here's the reality. You feel like you're going to have perfect children. And I remember when I had Samantha, they were like, oh, she's got 10 toes and 10 fingers. And I'm like, yeah, that was my expectation. That doesn't go beyond it. And then all of a sudden things happen and they're not developing the way that you felt like they should develop. Or, everybody's like, oh, what do you mean your kid has A, B, and C? Well, that's not normal. And you're like, what? And now I look at Samantha and she's 16 years old and I'm like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with this kid. Like, she's pretty amazing. But you just, as a young parent, there's so many things that can go wrong and do go wrong, and the height and the weight and the, all these different things. Your expectations are like, oh, they'll be perfect. And that's not how it happens, right? And I felt like as I've been walking through this process that God said to me and wants to say to you, the only thing that can meet your expectations is Him. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And when I mean yesterday, I mean He is the same God that helped Noah save all the animals on the earth. Like, He is the same God who helped David beat Goliath. He is the same God that was with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. Like, they all had to go through some yucky stuff. He didn't take that away from them, but He was with them. And so our expectations have been dashed in so many areas of our lives, whether it's your health, your finances, your family, your job, whatever it is. The only thing that has not changed is God. Your expectation that His love will never fail is something you can hold on to. I know that there are times in life, especially when there's a big storm and you're walking into the fiery furnace. And I think a lot of you, and I don't know what your current situation is, sorry about that, your current situation is, but you feel like you're walking into the fire and you're like, Lord, where are you? I do not see you. And I'm telling you, He will show up in that fire with you. I'm telling you that when you look back at the things God has done in my life and in your life, you know that God will show up and that He's got a plan. Even though you may not see Him physically, or you may not feel Him right now because there's so much going on, He is standing with you. He is going nowhere. He will be here 1,000 years from now doing the exact same thing for people that love Him and that He loves them. And I just want you to know that no matter what you're walking through, God's right there with you, and His love never fails. And He is going to meet your expectation of showing up when you need Him to show up. Now, I know these last 2 weeks, I have spent a lot of time crying and a lot of time crying out to God, like, God, heal me. I want to go back to life. And it's been crickets, like nothing. And I'm going, God, where are you? And then this morning I was talking with my husband, and we were talking about this, and I'm just really frustrated, and I want to leave the house, and I'm having to cancel plans that I've made for this week. And he's like, you know what? I realized that what's happening with you right now, is actually causing you to slow down, because you will give it a day and then you'll run. And maybe that's what God's plan is. And I was like, okay, well, he could have told me that. Like, but really, if he would have said that, I'd been like, okay, no, let's have a discussion. Okay, so you say 2 days, I say 1 hour. Like, how can we compromise on this, God? We're so good at that. And I just want you to know that whatever you're walking through, God sees you, God loves you, and he has a plan. And he will meet your expectations. He is not going to go below your expectations. He's actually going to blow you out of the water with what he's got for you. And you may not see it, you may not feel it, but in a month, in a year, in 5 years, you're going to look back and go, oh wow, now I see where God's hand was all along the way. So I'm actually doing a prayer journal right now and writing down stuff, because I know that when I come back a month from now, a year from now, I'm going to go, oh wow, that's where God's hand was. I see it now. I did not in the midst. And so that's my encouragement to you. God actually was like, hey, use your few minutes of energy and do a podcast, because someone out here needs to hear that I love them and that I'm not going to fail them. I'm not going to walk away from them. I'm going to be here today. I'm going to be here tomorrow. And I was there yesterday. I'm not going anywhere. They can't push me away, because my love never fails. Well, that is all I have for you this week. I just pray that you find the love of Jesus in your current circumstance, and that you figure out a way to write some stuff down, so a month, a year, or 5 years from now, you look back and you see God's hand in what's going on right now, and know that his love never fails. His love never fails. Well, you can find me on Real Life with Jenny on Instagram and on Facebook, and you can also find me at christconnection.cc/Jen. I am very excited about what God is doing in our ministry, Christ Connection, and so I'm probably going to be sharing that soon with you, but you just don't know where God is taking you and what steps that he's calling you to do beyond the first step, because he sees the full picture, right? We only see the teeny tiny little 2 steps ahead of us. Sometimes I don't normally get 2 steps, but the few steps ahead of you, and God sees the whole picture. And no matter what you're walking through right now, know that God loves you and he has a plan. Have a great week.